All right, welcome back to this video series on making the Reversi app, or Othello. We're in the middle of making our lobby interaction, and what we want to do in this video is to add the ability to uninvite someone who has already been invited. To do that, we need to add functionality to our invited button, and that's going to parallel the work that we did for our invite button. We need to add action on our client side in main.js, and we need to receive that action and broadcast the uninvite message on our server side. So let's tackle that first by looking at main.js. Already, when we made our invite button, we attached some functionality to it. Now we want to do the same thing with our uninvited button. So down in with our invited button. So when we make our invited button, we now want to add interactivity to it so that when you click on it, you'll uninvite someone. We'll come down here, and I'm actually going to come up here and I'm going to copy this code from on my line 34 to 41. I'm going to put it underneath here so that when we click on our invited button, we're going to send the server message that we want to uninvite this player. So we're going to change the log message so it says sending uninvite command and send it the payload. And what we're going to emit is the uninvite message. In order to do this, we had to also accept the socket ID so that we could send that off. Now, we didn't have that before, so we need to go down and find where we call our make invited button. That's make invited button. It's in our invite response, and we're going to add a parameter there, which is going to be payload.socket_ID. And we will save that up. And then what we need to do is we need to respond when the server sends back a message. Now, when we sent the invite message, we had the server send back two different kinds of messages. One was an invite response, and the other was an invited message. We're actually going to combine those together in the uninvited case, because in both cases, whether you were the person that did the inviting or you're the person that was invited, both of those buttons revert back to the same thing. So we can do the same action with one message. So we'll take our socket.invited code, we'll copy that, and we'll just paste it right below. And we're going to change the message so that it is uninvited. So we'll uninvite, and then we'll get the uninvited message back. Check to make sure our payload is okay. Check to make sure that a result is not a fail. If we do get back an uninvited message, we don't want to make the play button. We want to make the invite button again. And we want to send it that payload ID. Oops. No, thank you, Siri. Payload.socket_ID. That will make our button, and we'll just place it right in there. So that should be everything on our main side. We send our invite button if we click on the uninvite button if we click on the invited button, and we receive back an uninvited message, in which case we replace our buttons. So on the server side, we need to accept our uninvite message and send an uninvited message back. So let's take a look at that. We're going to open up server.js. And I think what we'll do is we'll start with our invite code and use that as a template. So I'm going to go to the code that is the invite handler, socket.onInvite. I'm going to copy all of that down to just before disconnect. I'm going to go right below that, and I'm going to paste it. And then I'm going to go to the top, and I'm going to change the message that we're handling to uninvite. I'm going to say server received a command uninvite, and then we'll do our error checking. Make sure that our payload is good. If it's not, we'll fail. Client did not send a payload, and we are going to change this to uninvited. And we are going to change this to the uninvite command failed. All right, we're going to get the user that we're trying to uninvite. We're going to get their room and their username, so that remains the same. Change the message client did not request a valid user to uninvite. And then we'll send back the uninvited message, and we'll send back that the uninvite command failed. If the room is undefined, we'll say the user that was uninvited is not in a room, and we will send back uninvited, and we will send back that the uninvite command failed. And then the username, the user that was uninvited does not have a name registered, and this becomes uninvited, and the uninvite command failed. Now we'll check to make sure that the person that's uninvited is still in the room in case to make sure they didn't accept someone else's invitation. So we'll change this comment so it says uninvitee isn't in the room. That's if sockets undefined, sockets equals null, or does not have the requested user. We'll say that the user that was uninvited is no longer in the room. It's no longer in the room. And we will send back uninvited failure message, and we will say the uninvite command failed. But if the uninvitee is in the room, we'll say success. Who was uninvited? We'll say uninvited. Make sure you spell those right. Those will get you every time. We will send one message back to the uninvited message back to the person that did the uninviting, and we will send an uninvited message back to the person that was uninvited. So change that to uninvited, and at the end we'll say uninvite command succeeded. And as long as I didn't have any typos, that should be everything for uninvite. So let's try and run our server.js, see if we have any typos. Okay, it started running cleanly. Let's come over to our code, and I'm going to do an empty cache and hard reload to make sure I'm using the most recent version of main.js. I'm looking in the inspect panel on another screen, and I see there are no errors immediately. So I'm going to type A, enter lobby, B, enter lobby. Both players are there. A will invite B. A is invited, or B is invited. Now I'm going to uninvite. Great. And the button shifted back, and it should work the other way as well. B can invite A, and if we click invited, B will be uninvited. Great. Super interaction. Template, kind of like copying some of the code that we had before. Good to go. Not a huge battle to fight there. So great. Thank you for your attention.